In 1963, a man in the Turkish town of Derinkuyu followed his missing chickens to a crack at the back of his cellar. When he knocked down the basement wall to find them, the rock gave way to a dark staircase plunging deep into the earth. Beneath his floorboards sat a subterranean metropolis driven 85 meters into the ground, the exact depth of an 18-story skyscraper, capable of housing 20,000 people and their livestock. The reason for this excavation is clear from the surface. The Cappadocian Plateau is a high, flat corridor with no natural hiding places for miles. For centuries, farming communities here watched marching armies, from the Romans to the Mongols, sweep across this exposed terrain. With no standing army of their own and no geography to shield them, the locals made the decision to disappear. Maintaining life for 20,000 humans and their cattle inside a sealed hole creates a complex chain of technical requirements, an environment where a single oversight in physics or geology would be fatal. The most immediate threat when hollowing out 85 meters of earth is the weight of the plateau itself, which threatens to crush any void cut into it. The builders utilized the unique properties of volcanic tuff. This ash-based rock is soft enough to carve with iron hand tools, but once exposed to the air, it chemically hardens into a durable structural surface. This diagram reveals how they managed the overhead load. Instead of hollowing out wide open spaces, the builders cut tight rooms and left massive, untouched columns of tuff to carry the vertical weight down through the floors. In the centuries since construction began, weathering powerful earthquakes that flattened towns on the surface, there is no evidence of a single structural cave-in across any of the 18 levels. They used the weight of the mountain to lock the architecture in place, engineering the rock to serve as a shield rather than a hazard. A stable structure is useless if the air becomes unbreathable. 20,000 people, their herds, and their cooking fires would deplete the oxygen in a subterranean city in hours without a continuous supply of fresh air. To solve this, the builders bored 52 primary ventilation shafts up to 180 feet deep, supplemented by 15,000 capillary shafts. Utilizing thermodynamic pressure, heavy, cold air sinks down the central shafts, while heat from fires pushes stale air back to the surface. The inhabitants maintained strict discipline to protect the secret, only cooking at night to prevent plumes of surface smoke from giving away their location to raiding parties above. Without electricity or mechanical fans, they maintained a life support system capable of keeping a city breathing through a months-long siege. Surviving a surface siege is a contest of time, and the attacker's primary strategy is to cut off the victim's access to water. This animation shows how Derinkuyu avoided detection. While surface wells were easy to poison, the city's blind wells reached the water table from within the levels and never broke the surface, leaving attackers unaware that a water supply even existed. If an enemy managed to find an entry point, they were met by these 1,000-pound circular stone doors. Carved to fit the corridors perfectly, they could only be rolled shut and locked from the inside. Even past the doors, the architecture turns hostile. The narrow corridors forced armored invaders to strip off gear and crawl into the dark. In these choke points, one defender with a spear had a total advantage over attackers who arrived blind, bent double, and unable to swing. This wasn't a panic room, it was a death trap designed to nullify every tactical advantage of a surface army. Raiding armies would arrive at empty fields and find houses still warm but completely deserted. Unable to locate the entrances or starve the locals out, they were often forced to retreat with nothing. While soldiers on the surface endured the elements, 20,000 people waited them out in a constant 55-degree climate, supported by endless water and deep storage grain. No army ever managed to breach the lower levels. The city didn't fail, it simply became unnecessary as the region settled under stable rule. The city's secrets were lost in 1923 during a forced population exchange. The Christian communities who had carved and defended these tunnels for over 1,000 years were sent to Greece, leaving their underground city behind. For 40 years, the residents of the new surface town drew water from the ancient shafts they called deep wells, never realizing their buckets were passing through the halls of an 18-story metropolis. Derinkuyu flips the logic of a fortress. It replaced towering stone walls with an invisible masterpiece, built by ordinary people who found a way to survive by walking away from the sun.